Every successful business begins with a hero, someone who creates, builds, solves, decides. The founder becomes the engine. At first, this works beautifully. Every decision is fast. Every customer receives attention. Every problem is solved immediately. The company grows. The founder feels indispensable. Then something changes. Growth accelerates. Complexity increases. More customers arrive. More decisions appear. More responsibilities accumulate. And slowly, without anyone noticing, the founder transforms from the greatest asset into the greatest constraint. Every important decision waits. Every customer request pauses. Every opportunity slows. Not because demand disappeared, but because one human being cannot expand at the speed of the business. The company believes it has an operations problem. In reality, it has an architectural problem, because the system was never designed to operate without its creator. Every founder creates value. That is why the business exists. But the very strengths that create the company often prevent it from scaling. Founders know every customer, every product, every process, every shortcut, every exception. Their knowledge becomes extraordinary and extraordinarily centralized. This creates an invisible paradox. The better the founder becomes, the more dependent the organization becomes. Employees wait for approval. Customers ask for personal attention. Important decisions climb upward. Eventually, everything points towards one person. Success creates dependence. Dependence creates fragility. Fragility limits growth. This is not poor leadership. It is predictable architecture. The business has quietly evolved into a living organism whose entire nervous system passes through a single brain. Remove that brain, and movement stops. The organization survives, but only until complexity exceeds human capacity. Every scalable company eventually faces the same uncomfortable question. Can the business continue growing without requiring the founder to grow at the same speed? Imagine two companies. Both generate the same revenue. Both employ the same number of people. From the outside, they appear identical. But one question reveals everything. What happens if the founder disappears for 30 days? The first company continues operating. Customers receive support. Orders continue flowing. Systems continue making decisions. Revenue continues arriving. The second company freezes. Projects stop. Approvals wait. Customers become uncertain. Employees hesitate. Revenue slows. The financial statements looked identical. The architecture was completely different. One business depended on systems. The other depended on memory. One invested in infrastructure. The other invested in heroism. And history has shown that heroism never scales. Infrastructure does. Dependency is rarely intentional. It is accumulated. One shortcut today, one exception tomorrow, one decision handled personally, then another. Eventually, a pattern emerges. The founder becomes the default solution to every uncertainty. Modern business architecture can be understood through 5 structural layers. The first is the decision layer. Who has permission to act without asking? Every unnecessary approval increases latency. Every delayed decision slows the entire organism. The second layer is the knowledge layer.
Where does critical information live? Inside documents or inside someone's memory? Knowledge trapped inside one individual cannot scale beyond that individual. The third layer is the workflow layer. Can work continue without manual intervention? Or does every process pause, waiting for someone's attention? The fourth layer is the automation layer. Which repetitive decisions have already been transferred into systems? Because every predictable task handled by software returns human attention to unpredictable problems. The fifth layer is the feedback layer. Can the business detect failure before customers experience it? Or does every improvement begin only after something breaks? When these 5 layers operate independently, the founder stops acting as the operating system. The founder becomes the architect, designing, observing, improving, not carrying the entire organization on a single pair of shoulders. Because businesses become resilient only when intelligence is distributed instead of centralized.
Every founder begins with memory. There is no alternative. The first customer, the first invoice, the first process. Everything lives inside one mind. At this stage, memory is efficient. As the business grows, memory becomes expensive. Questions repeat. Instructions change. Small details disappear. People interrupt one another simply to retrieve information. The organization quietly develops an invisible tax, not financial, cognitive. The founder spends less time creating value and more time remembering value. The strongest organizations eventually recognize a profound truth. Memory is not infrastructure, documentation is. When knowledge becomes external, it becomes transferable. When it becomes transferable, it becomes scalable. When it becomes scalable, it becomes leverage. This is why extraordinary companies invest heavily in systems their customers never see. Internal playbooks, operational standards, decision frameworks, shared knowledge. From the outside, nothing appears different. Inside, the architecture transforms completely. Because every answer that no longer depends on memory is one more dependency removed from the founder. Many founders secretly celebrate becoming indispensable. Everyone needs them. Every important decision requires them. Every customer trusts them. It feels like importance. Architecture reveals something different. It is concentration risk. The more indispensable the founder becomes, the more fragile the business becomes. Vacations become impossible. Strategic thinking disappears. Innovation slows. Not because capability declined, because attention became fragmented. The organization slowly enters survival mode. Every day becomes operational. Nothing remains architectural. Ironically, success creates the very conditions that prevent future success. Growth begins consuming the capacity required to sustain growth. Eventually, the founder no longer owns the business. The business owns the founder. And that may be the most expensive acquisition the company ever makes. Because true leadership is not measured by how many decisions you make. It is measured by how many quality decisions the system can make without you.
Most businesses are designed around presence. The founder must attend, approve, decide, correct, monitor. The organization functions because someone is constantly holding it together. Architects pursue a completely different objective. They design for absence, not because the founder becomes unimportant, but because the architecture becomes dependable. The strongest systems do not ask, what happens when the founder arrives? They ask, what continues working when the founder leaves? This subtle distinction changes every design decision, every documented process, every automated workflow, every delegated responsibility, every operational standard. The objective is no longer increasing control, it is increasing continuity, because continuity compounds. A business that survives one day without its founder has gained resilience. A business that survives 1 month has gained independence. A business that continues improving without constant intervention has become something entirely different. It has stopped behaving like a company built around a person and started behaving like an adaptive system. That is the true transition, not from small business to large business, but from operator to architect.
Every dependency inside a business is an architectural clue. Do not hide it, study it. If customers only trust one person, design systems that distribute trust. If decisions always stop at one desk, design frameworks that distribute judgment. If information lives inside one mind, design knowledge that everyone can access. The purpose is not removing people, it is removing a necessary dependency. The strongest organizations are not those with extraordinary founders. They are those that transform extraordinary thinking into ordinary operations, where excellence becomes repeatable, not exceptional. Every dependency eliminated creates new capacity. Every system improved creates new freedom. Every workflow clarified creates new leverage. Because businesses do not become valuable when founders become indispensable. They become valuable when excellence becomes infrastructure.
Every business begins with a founder. That is inevitable. But the businesses that endure learn a deeper lesson. People create beginnings. Systems create permanence. The founder lights the first spark. Architecture keeps the fire burning. Because growth eventually exposes every weakness that effort once managed to hide. And every dependency eventually demands a decision. Will the company continue depending on people, or will people begin depending on the system? That answer determines whether the organization remains a business or evolves into infrastructure. Because founders create momentum, systems preserve momentum, and architecture transforms momentum into enduring resilience. This is Nexera, Decoding Systems, Architecting Wealth.